this meeting to order. It is 6:30. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The roll call.
Craig here.
Connie here.
Dolphin here. And I believe Ms. Cummings will be joining us late. She's at the volleyball banquet. So I do have in front of me proper verification of meeting notices being posted. Brings us to the agenda. Any changes to the agenda this evening?
There are none. I so move for approval as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, got a motion on the floor by Mr. Craig, seconded by Ms. Kwame to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. We will roll right into the action of approving a bunch of meeting minutes. We'll start with Wednesday, July 9th, open session meeting minutes. Any noted changes, corrections to set minutes?
I will so move for approval.
I'll second that.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor by Mr. Craig, seconded by Mr. Yurgis to approve the meeting minutes as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. That brings us to the Wednesday, September 22nd, closed session meeting minutes. Any noted changes or corrections here?
I'll move to approve the Wednesday, September 22nd meeting minutes.
I will second that.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor by Mr. Dalton, seconded by Mr. Craig to approve the meeting minutes as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Moving to the Wednesday, October 8th, open session meeting minutes. Any noted changes or corrections here?
Make a motion to approve October 8th meeting minutes. Second.
Okay, motion on the floor by Mr. Yurgis, seconded by Mr. Dalton to approve the Wednesday, October 8th, open session meeting minutes as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries on a 6-0 voice vote. Brings us to the October 8th closed session meeting minutes. Any noted changes here? I do have one, was not present, but apparently I made the motion to return to open session. I don't know who made that motion or if anyone recalls. It was not me.
On October 8th to...
More than likely it was Susan, but I don't know if you remember or not.
Oh, yes, I see it now.
I think it was me.
Yeah.
Any other corrections, notations?
I will so move for approval as amended.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor by Mr. Craig, seconded by Ms. Kwame to approve the meeting minutes with noted amendment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Brings us to the policy committee meeting on October 15th.
I'll move to approve those minutes as presented.
And I will second.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor by Ms. Kwame, seconded by Mr. Craig to approve the policy committee meeting minutes from October 15th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Takes us to the Monday, October 27th, meeting minutes of the open session. Any other changes here?
Make a motion to approve the regular board meeting on October 27th, 2025. Second.
Okay, I've got a motion number 4 by Mr. Yurgis, seconded by Mr. Dolphin, to approve the regular meeting minutes for Monday, October 27th as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Brings us to the curriculum committee meeting on the 29th. Any noted changes here?
I'll move to approve those minutes as presented.
I will second that.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor by Ms. Kwame, seconded by Mr. Crave, to approve the curriculum committee meeting minutes from Wednesday, October 29th as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Moving right along here. Now that we're through that, we'll take it over to board reports. It does not appear that we have any of our student representatives here this evening. So we will move into the policy committee meeting report, and I guess we'll have Mr. Craig speak on that.
Well, the policy committee meeting was, whatever we talked about here, curriculum policy, October 15th. So Susan and I were present. We went over a plethora of policies, and we approved them as presented. So, without sounding like I'm not prepared, but Brian, what were the highlights that we scratched away at there, please?
A lot of them, in these later in the year updates are technical changes, something that the attorneys found that was either changed from a statute or no longer relevant. So most of what you're approving tonight is more on the lines of a technical change. We did add that transportation change where we outlined the ages that could ride the transportation because we had that item earlier in the year. And that pretty much was what we dealt with. So we have another update coming here in December, so we'll have another group at that time as well.
Susan, do you have anything to add?
No, I think that was the highlights, right? Most of the
Yeah.
policies we reviewed, we didn't have a whole lot of say in because it was statutory changes, so.
Yeah.
And I would concur. As to note, the transportation policy that Mr. Henning brought up, as the motion was approved in our board meeting, if you recall by Mr. Fari, we do have the right to look at that each and every year and address as needed. So another change, so on the agenda this evening, but in the past, we did a first and second reading with our new set of policies. We have already gone through the committee, and we will just simply vote to put those in play this evening. It's a change. Any questions? Okay, as Ms. Cummings is not yet present, is there any other?
Yeah, she and I chatted.
Okay, so we will have Susan give a report on the curriculum
The
committee meeting.
curriculum committee met with Ms. Seaman and 3 of our teachers, and we reviewed some changes to the curriculum. We discussed that we would look at curriculum on a 6-year cycle, and that's in your board informer if you want to review it. Next year, our core subject that's up for renewal for curriculum is math, and they're currently exploring curriculum associated with that. And the committee deferred to the teachers and administration on their choice. Because the board didn't feel like we had to re-meet to look at those options. And then there were several course change guide, or courses that were added to the course guides. One in middle school related to an art class, and then in the high school, 3 agriculture classes, a medical terminology, transitioning pre-calc to an AP level course. And the committee was in favor of all of the information presented by our administration teachers. You will see all of those things in your board informer as well.
I'm curious to ask what drives the 6-year cycle?
I think it's a lot of funding, right? So when we implement new curriculum, there's a cost associated.
Yeah, it's multi-factors, and Christine, you can chime in if you want, but a lot of it really has to do with usually the companies themselves are on like a 3 to 5 or sometimes 6-year cycle for when they change curriculums. Of course, some of it is they're just trying to stay relevant and keep up with the times, but others is if they don't make something new, they can't sell you something new, right? But that allows us to make sure that we're getting through everything and that nothing's ever too far out of date.
Okay.
Also, so when we talked about the math curriculum, last year we talked about English language and reading, and there was some state requirements associated with that 20. And I think Brian and Christine are still waiting for the state to give their firm decision related to math. So our curriculum may need to be based on what the state associated with that.
All right, any other questions regarding the curriculum committee meeting?
Christine, do you feel we covered it? Do you think Brian and Susan covered it adequately?
Do you want me to wait until my?
Yeah, we'll wait till you get to your report.
Okay.
We'll be there soon. All right, thank you all. We'll roll right into administrative reports, and we'll start with Mr. Bartelt. He's going to speak on curriculum and course guide changes, I would assume in high school. So the floor is yours, Sean.
Good evening. Are we good with the sound?
Yep, we are.
Perfect. I know Mr. Kwame talked a little bit about some of those classes. I'll give a little reasoning behind each of those briefly, just to paint a little bit of a larger picture. So, high school, we're proposing a medical terminology class. We have a growing interest in healthcare in our high school, and this class has been very popular online through our Jedi program. Miss Burns is able to teach this class, so we want to bring it in-house because we have usually more than 10 students that are taking this course every year. So we want to bring that just to teach it in person rather than Jedi. Mathematical reasoning is a dual credit class that we would like to propose for next school year. Students can earn their third credit option. Right now, students have 2 options for their third credit. It's Algebra 2. A lot of times those students are going to a 4-year college, or it's math skills and reasoning. Math skills and reasoning does not receive any college credit, but if this full credit mathematical reasoning, we partner with Madison College, and it'd be a third option for students to receive their third math credit. And then we have pre-calculus currently. We'd like to implement AP pre-calc to continue to grow our AP program. And it's very similar to what we're doing now. Basically, this gives students the opportunity to take the AP test in May to earn college credit. And then we have 3 new proposals for agriculture, agronomy, agriculture communications, and aquaculture. We are looking to utilize specifically our spaces a little bit more now that we have the building in the back of our school. And we also have the piece of land next to our school where we can do some studying with the soil. So a lot of these classes kind of align with what we're doing, with our new building, what we're doing with our work with community, career, life readiness, and that's a little more background of those classes that we're proposing for this upcoming school year. Are there any questions?
We don't hear any.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. And now we'll turn it over to Ms. Zeman to speak on the curriculum updates and course guide changes. So the floor is yours.
All right, well, thank you very much. Mrs. Kwame did a very nice job of consolidating what we talked about on the 29th. One thing, though, that we also talked about that wasn't mentioned was music. Elementary music is also up for an adoption this year. So we are looking at music and math for next year. We're looking at resources this year. The only course change at the middle school level is Ms. Maurer would like to change digital arts as an art elective to 3D art. She thinks that the students would enjoy that a lot more, and she has a lot of other possibilities that she can incorporate within that course. She does want to include some digital art in the planning of their 3D art pieces. So she just wanted to add that 3D art component to that course. As far as the 6-year cycle, Mr. Henning is correct. A lot of resource representatives encourage a 6-year implementation, and when we do that, the initial cost includes the consumable materials, so it's a better deal for us. And also, we do not want to change resources fairly often for teachers. We want to give them adequate time to implement the resource, study the resource, and then also a year to look at potential new resources. So a 6-year cycle is very typical in the world of education and curriculum, and it's all laid out for you in the packet what is coming up. One other thing that we did talk about is reconvening the Human Growth and Development Committee. That will have to be a district and community committee to look at what we are teaching for human growth and development. So we will be pulling people together for that and hopefully start meeting over the summer. Are there any questions on any of the course proposals that are in your board informer or any of the courses that are being proposed for next year?
We don't hear anything.
Okay, any questions on the 6-year curriculum cycle?
Nope, I think you've explained it well.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, we'll turn it over to Ms. Beacon to talk about 3-year trends for reading and math.
All right, so I'm going to change it up a little bit. I love to look at data, and we spend a lot of time in October at the elementary school assessing students and things like that. I'm going to try to share my screen. So what I was looking at was our 3-year trends for reading and math, kind of looking at our universal screener, our STAR data, things like that. And then I was celebrating with the staff. I sent it out to them today so that they could take a look at it. We're going to talk about it again at our staff meeting, but I wanted like initial kind of feedback from them. I'm going to try to share my screen. Did it work? Share. All right. Is it happening?
Yep. You see
All
your
right.
screen.
Okay, you can see my screen. So I'm going to push slideshow, and I think I'm doing it right. Okay. So this is the first slide that I have here is our STAR data for our early literacy. This is the universal screen we use for kindergarten first and a little bit of second grade. And this is our fall to fall data. So I started in the fall in so 3 years. So this is 3 years. This was 20, that's kind of small, 23, 24, and then 24, 25, and then this year's data. So this is the trend line that we're kind of working with right now. So we've really made some really just incredible growth in our early literacy. When I asked the teachers why they thought this was happening, most of it is because, right, we're doing, with Act 20, we've trained this wonderful staff that I have. First of all, they're fabulous at what they do. And they've been trained now in the keys to reading and the 8 different areas of reading, and some of them it was just a refresher for them because they were already really good. We've implemented UFly, which is a phonics-based program. They've all said that that's been really, really helpful, and they kind of attribute our growth to that. They're doing some progress monitoring now and using STAR, a different part of STAR, to help us progress monitor, really looking at individual kid data and being able to then create small groups and really do some really good work with individual students and kind of exactly where they are and what they need. So this is our trend for early literacy, and then that didn't work. Just push.
Hey Holly, before you switch out of there, And I
Yeah.
apologize, because maybe I have bad eyes, but you have 3 milestones noted here. Does
Yeah.
those correspond to the start of the school years, or?
Yep, it's fall to fall, so it's the beginning, it's our very first, because we just did fall for this year. So I took the fall data for the last 3 years. So all the data is there, but then I just put the percentile of students that are at a proficiency or advanced proficiency rate. So this was our rate at 3 years ago was 13%, and now we're up to 43% of our students that take this early literacy are doing, seems to make it go to the next screen, are doing really, we've made some huge improvements. Oh, there it is, oh, there. So this is reading. So same thing, but the reading, we give this universal screener to some of our second graders through our fourth graders, and we can see the same sort of trend, really making some nice progress with our students. I'm super proud of the work that we've been doing in the area of reading. And then math, we're working on it. We still have some work to do in math, and I'm really excited to be able to be looking at new curriculum choices and things like that. And we're kind of waiting, like they said with the state, to see what's gonna happen in that 3-year trend. But one of the things that we did see is that it does really correlate to what's happening with this is the forward test data and overall passing proficient advanced for forward. And this has a lot more years on it, but just the last 2 years are when they kind of changed the cut scores, and they kind of took, and they put writing and ELA and separated them and made reading, so they have like 3 different categories. And we can really see the correlation between how our kids are doing on STAR, that benchmark, and then how then it's kind of about the same when we look at forward. We're doing a little bit better on the forward, and we're finally, like I was saying earlier this year, we're at that 50% of our students are at the proficient or advanced level. So like I said, I'm super proud of the growth that we're making, and and it's showing in kind of what we do. I think my last slide is just the report cards. So these are our report cards, and we're really excited to see that we've exceeded the expectation in elementary, and I'm happy to share that with my staff this year at our staff meeting on Tuesday. So that's my 3-year trend data. Like I said, I'm really proud of it. We have work that we still have to do, but I think that we're on the right track, and we're making some really steady gains as we're in these last 3 years. So, any questions for me?
Good question.
Well, I will say, I think it looks very impressive. So congratulations.
I can't speak any more highly of the staff that I have at the elementary school. They are working really hard and looking at student needs and really doing what they need to do to increase the student achievement in our building, and it's showing.
Thank you, Holly.
Thanks, you guys.
All right, next up, Ms. Armentrout, talk about student services and the special education updates. You have the floor.
Wonderful. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to also present my screen to kind of frame our updates. All right, and here we go. All right, so I'm going to cover some of our updates in the last month and a half. And within those updates, I'm going to touch upon our special education referrals, our Child Find and Child Development Days we've had in October, our staff and paraprofessional professional development that we've had at the beginning of November. And then I'm going to touch upon updates on 2 of our grants, the ES3 grant and the Transition Readiness grant. So in order to kind of frame our updates, I wanted to bring us back to special education and its fundamental purpose. I always like to emphasize this because this is a mindset shift. It's important to remember that special education is a service. It's not a label for a type of student, it's not a place or a location. And the full goal of special education is to ensure that our students with disabilities have access and can engage and make progress in general education alongside their non-disabled peers to the extent possible. When we look at our staff and students specific to Waterloo, we are currently serving 104 students. We have 8 special educators, 2 of them work part-time, so we have 7 full-time positions. We have 1 occupational therapist, 2 speech-language pathologists, 1 school psychologist, and then we have our certified special education aides or paraprofessionals. 13 of them are full-time and 7 of them are part-time. We do contract out for physical therapy, orientation and mobility, and vision services. So far this year, we have had 15 special education referrals, initial referrals. These referrals come from parents, they come from teachers, they come from our Birth to 3 programming through Jefferson County, Dane County, and Dodge County. And they come from our Child Find activities through our Child Development Days, and the addition of our play group allows us the opportunity to fulfill our Child Find obligation. So I really wanted to give the board some context around special education and systematic challenges to help explain some of our updates and some of the things we're working really hard to do. So I grabbed onto a couple pieces of research around those systematic challenges. Just one piece to emphasize, I'm citing research around systematic challenges, not individual limitations of students with disabilities. But it is important to note that students with disabilities are 2.3 times more likely to drop out of high school. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics report from 2024, only 22.7% of working age individuals with disabilities are employed compared to 65.5% of those without disabilities. There are reports, a longitudinal report finds that students with disabilities after high school have lower rates of post-secondary enrollment and differences with employment and independence outcomes. And a study of under 12,000 U.S. adolescents found that students that were labeled with learning disabilities were more likely to have lower educational expectations by their teachers and parents compared to similarly achieving unlabeled peers. I bring this up because part of our work is really understanding implicit bias and special education. Unfortunately, oftentimes we find that we have lowered expectations for our students labeled with disabilities. This can look like or show up when students are asked to do less, or assuming that if a student has an IEP, they have barriers or struggles in every academic area, confusing a lack of motivation or a lack of engagement with a disability, taking away opportunities for students to have that productive struggle. If we provide paraprofessional support in the classroom, not ever fading that support, or when that support is in the classroom, we're over supporting those students. Well, those are really important things that we are cognizant of and want to make sure all staff are aware of as well. Part of our updates has been professional development around ensuring that our paraprofessionals, ensuring that all staff understand what it could look like when we over-support. So oftentimes we have unintentional harmful effects when we support students in classroom if we provide too much support. This can mean students missing opportunities to problem solve, self-advocate, and build skills and connections with their teachers and peers, because they might be looking to that paraprofessional to answer their questions, or they don't have the necessity to pay as close attention because they can fall back on somebody that can help them right away after a lecture or a learning experience. We found that this can create a learned helplessness, so if students are supported year after year after year, that can be a result. We know that it can make future transitions much harder when we're looking at new classes, when we move into the high school, when we're trying to get work. And oftentimes it can inadvertently send that message that you can't do it by yourself. So we work really hard using the supports of our grants to instruct and find strategies in facilitating what we call that just right support. So generally, when we're looking at kind of that uphill battle that we see that can happen when labeled with a disability, how do we mitigate those challenges here at Waterloo? We really focus on identifying and building on individual strengths. We challenge deficit-based perspectives. I've talked with the board about our 5-step college career readiness IEP process that we've worked on the last, we're going on our 5th year to ensure that we have rigorous expectations that are aligned with the academic standards for all students. We've added that collaboration with Scott Carr with our special education department on student identity, character traits, and durable skills. And then really working on changing stigmatizing language. So, no longer using terms like special ed students versus students receiving special education services. And really focusing and promoting learning environments that increase independence and belonging. So as I've introduced the ES3 grant before that we started last year and just updating the board on this, the ES3 grant is one of the ways that we've received funding to provide special professional development and resources around independence pathways and supporting students with disabilities and staff that serve them. So again, the ES3 grant stands for Enhancing Social and Emotional Skills in Students with IEPs. One of the big things we did is 3 of our teachers worked really hard to complete professional development on Train the Trainers model. So I want to call out to Emma Beach, our OT, and Kim Ryan, one of our special educators, and Erica Alleman, one of our special educators, who have spent countless hours working on creating professional development to support staff. We share strategies and resources for working with students with unique needs, and our focus this year has really been looking at our paraprofessionals as independence facilitators, how to help our students gain skills to be more independent and less reliant on those additional adults. Our staff received, all staff received some PD on November 3rd on those independence pathways with our goals to give those behaviors and skills, fade additional support, and really allow for productive struggle for our students, for all of our students. And then we are also working, as again I've mentioned, our Transition Readiness Grant. That is another avenue that we're using to gain opportunities for our students at the high school level and the middle school level in gaining independence and ability to be successful beyond high school through enhancing vocational skills, connecting students with integrated competitive employment experiences, and really working to increase our student, family, and school connections with other districts, with DVR, with EDRC. So we're really excited about the work that we're doing with both of those. And so those are my updates. Any questions from the board?
Any questions?
Well,
There appears to be none.
no, I know you got the grant, and it's very impressive to see the depth of the program which has been rolled out and subsequent training for already a skilled staff, so congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, and I would agree. Our staff are amazing, and this is only helping us increase our ability to serve all students. So we're very excited.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along, we will turn the floor over to Ms. Daniels to talk regarding the survey.
All right, so in October, the board approved the hiring of the Donovan Group to assist the district in developing and conducting a referendum survey. Since then, Brian and I have been working closely with Brian Nickel and Tracy Jets from the Donovan Group to move this project forward. Together, we've created several communication drafts that will be shared with parents, staff, and through our social media channels. We've also finalized the postcard that will be mailed to community members, which includes a link to access this online survey. The postcards are scheduled to be mailed by November 21st, ensuring they begin arriving in mailboxes around November 24th. We're currently working on the third draft of the referendum survey, and a copy has been provided for your review this evening. Our next survey planning meeting is scheduled for November 17th, when we'll finalize the survey content. This timeline allows for the Donovan Group adequate time to translate, program, and test the survey before it goes live. The survey will be available online from November 21st through December 5th, with paper copies accessible at the district office for those who prefer that option. The Donovan Group will compile and analyze the responses and present the survey results to the board at our December 10th meeting. So I think you guys should all have the most updated version there at your paperwork. Any questions? I know we'll go over it later.
Yeah, we will. I'm sorry, the date, November 21st through December, what was it?
5th is when it will be live, yep.
And I apologize if I missed it, but the postcard that's gonna go out, will we see a copy or a draft of that before it goes?
It's just a flyer stating that the district is looking for your feedback in the survey.
Okay.
Here's how to access it. It's pretty generic.
Yeah, I can email it though if you'd like.
Yeah. All right, any other questions regarding the survey? All right, we'll turn it over to Mr. Henning with referendum update.
Yeah, I wanted to report back to you on a few things because I know our various discussions over the last couple of months, we've talked about a few things and I just wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same page because I know there's some more discussion happening tonight. So we did check about the questions for referendums. Remember we talked about that a few years ago the legislators implemented some limits on the amount of questions that you can ask for referendums in a year. And so we did verify that it's 2. So you can ask 2 questions in a year. Now you could do 2 in April of 26, but then you can't do any in fall of 26, or you could do 1 in April and 1 in the fall, or any combination of thereof. But you can only ask 2 questions for the year. The other thing that we also checked into is that it is still part of the statutes that if you fail an operating referendum, your revenue limit is frozen for 3 years. So there are some consequences to districts that fail operating referendums. Don't ask me to explain the wisdom in that one, but that is indeed in place still. There was some talk about removing it, but it wasn't removed. The January is the deadline for our ballot to be on the ballot for the referendum, so we're watching that timeline as well. So in December and January, you have some final decisions to make about things, and obviously the survey data will be presented to you in December, so that will guide you on that path, like Susie said. A renewal, and I've gotten this question quite a bit from people, a renewal of the $590,000 operating referendum would be a $0 tax impact. Obviously, people are already paying for that, you're just asking to continue what they're already doing. If you bumped it another $250,000, so like a total of $840, that would be a $32 per $100,000 property tax impact. So I wanted to get you that information. We did do some analysis, and it all sort of depends on what you throw in here. So we've provided a range, but anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 in fixed cost to run a referendum, an operating referendum. That includes things like surveys, election costs, attorney fees, mailers, postage, and referendum services. You can sort of go with the bare minimum, and maybe it's on the lower side there, or if you go with a little bit more, intricate types of things that can be on the higher end. And then we also calculated that it could be, as much as 30 to 80,000. That's including the fixed cost and indirect cost. That's that all those fixed costs, but then indirect costs meaning, either losing staff or having to retrain staff because of leaving and so forth. So again, we had some questions about those types of things, and I think those are good for people to know. Questions?
Any questions? We do have a discussion item later on the agenda regarding the referendum if something comes to you.
Yeah, the only question I have, so you mentioned in the beginning that they freeze. Was that always like that, or did that change? Because we did not get our first referendum that we went for, right, the operating?
Yeah, as long as if you fail one and then just stop, then you're frozen. But
Then
if
you're
you
frozen.
fail one and then try again and pass it, then that
Okay.
negates it.
Okay,
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Good question.
All right, any other questions? All right, we'll move into the approval of bills and vouchers. Within your packets, you have, the treasurer's report, the report of superintendent listing of disbursements through October 31st, and the district receipts. Are there any questions that remain in regards to said three reports?
I have one question. It looked like state and federal aids was missing in October, or at least compared to September, because maybe I don't know the timing of this, but the treasurer's balance went down over $1 million in the
Yeah,
last
there was
month.
a lot less in revenue this month. It's
Okay.
pretty normal for the fall.
Okay. I also noticed payroll was up $65,000 over October compared to September.
Well, there's the big increase from, starting back to school. I would have to look, 65,000. I'll have to check and get back to you. I didn't really notice anything largely different between the two. So I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I was just looking at the total.
Okay.
And it was just between October and September that I was comparing, so that's a pretty small sample size, so I can understand.
Well, you have to remember that hourly people don't get paid on that next cycle. So
There we
September
go.
is only partial, and then October was larger. So that's gonna be that major
I
difference.
figured it was some timing
Okay.
thing like that, that
All right.
makes sense to me.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion.
I'll motion to approve the bills and vouchers for October.
Cummings will second.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor, seconded, by Mr. Dolphin, seconded by Ms. Cummings. I'd like to get clarification before we go to a vote. Are you looking to approve all three reports or just the single?
Well, let's go with all three, unless there are any complaints. All three, please.
And I'm assuming you can still second that motion.
I second that motion.
All right, that is a roll call vote.
Peter, yes.
Crave, yes.
Schneider, yes.
Kwame, yes.
Dolphin, yes.
Cummings, yes.
All right, that carries on a 7-0 vote. Are there any announcements this evening? All right, that'll bring us to public input. Does anyone wish to provide public input this evening? Okay, we'll get right into new business. Moving right into it, action item A is staff positions. There is a noted change here this evening in the staff positions. Given the announcement we received today, we would remove the JV girls basketball position from this staff listing. Any
Yeah,
questions?
and then we'd ask that you still approve the varsity girls position. We'd like to work with our coach. She obviously had some work preparing for the season, and there'll still be some inventories and follow-up with kids, and so we're still determining what that'll all look like for her duties, but there would be some sort of prorated contract for her after we analyze that a little further.
Any other questions in regards to staff positions?
I will move for approval of staff positions with the amended girls' basketball JV deletion.
I'll second that.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor by Mr. Craig, seconded by Mr. Yurgis, to approve all positions as presented, noting the change with the JV girls basketball and the comments grade for Mr. Henning. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, on the question of your abstention, would you like to abstain from all, or would you like to abstain from?
No, I can abstain from all of it.
Okay. So, that motion will carry on a 601 for all of the positions other than Mr. Setz's resignation. I would vote no on that. So that will be a 511. I vote no, given the situation and resulting in that resignation. So moving right along, action item B, the Neola policy update, volume 34, number 2. You heard in the reports. We do have a long list here, and Ms. Cummings, just to bring you up to speed somewhat, and policy members certainly add anything that I've missed, but a bunch of these were legal updates through the attorneys. Was not we didn't have to debate all of these policies by any means. So, and again, a change with our new policy on policies, we do not do a first and second reading currently. We've gone through the committee, and tonight we would approve, and they would become effective immediately.
Thank you.
Any other discussion or any set discussion on the policy updates?
I'll move to approve the policy updates as presented.
And I will second.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor by Ms. Kwame, seconded by Mr. Craig, to approve all said policies as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Brings us to the action item C, the middle school, high school curriculum updates and course guide changes. Again, we heard previously from our staff, from committee members on the proposed changes. Administration recommends that the board approves the changes as presented. There's further detail in your packets. Are there any questions in regards to the curriculum updates and or course guide changes?
Cummings will make that motion to approve the middle school, high school curriculum updates and course guide changes.
I'll second that.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor by Ms. Cummings, seconded by Mr. Yurgis, to approve the middle school, high school curriculum updates and course guide changes as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Brings us to action item D, the referendum survey. Ms. Daniels provided information. You have a draft of said survey in your packets. There's quite a bit of detail in your informer packets. I believe Mr. Henning added a bunch of that detail and provided some of the specifics on the financials and taxing repercussions from said referendum. Is there any discussion in regards to the survey? It's recommended that we approve this survey this evening. Does the board members have any questions or things they'd like added to the survey?
I so move for approval of the survey.
Okay, before you move, or before we get a second on that, I'm gonna request that you spell my name right on the first page. One too many T's in there.
Sorry, Matt.
But, and sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Craig, but Mr. Craig has put a motion on the floor to approve as presented. Is there a second to that? Okay, so you're just seconding that motion. Is there any further discussion before we vote? All those in favor of approving the referendum survey as presented? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Again, in your informer packet, as we come up to action item E, softball trip. We have data in here in regards to the planned softball trip, stating the dates, where they plan to go. It's recommended that we approve the spring trip by the administration. This is for 2027, so they can plan effectively to reach the financial goals that they will have for said event. Is there any questions in regards to the proposed softball trip? It's a spring trip over spring break. They don't miss any school, right?
We typically have on our agenda in 1 month approval of trips. This is coming out of like circuit of that, and I'm wondering.
Yeah, so if you remember with the timing of our head coach, they weren't necessarily ready to make this proposal at that time, so it's coming a little bit out of order. They want to get started with planning and fundraising. That will also come back before you in the fall of 26 for approval with more information. This just allows them to take advantage of what's left of the school year to do the planning and prepping for that. So real similar to what they've done for years. I'm just looking to get it back going again.
Any other questions in regard to the proposed trip for softball?
I'll move to approve the trip.
I will second this.
Okay, got a motion on the floor by Mr. Dolphin, seconded by Mr. Fry, to approve the softball trip as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Brings us to action item F. It's review of the school violence drill evaluation report. It's an annual drill that happens to educate our students and staff. It's recommended that we approve the evaluation report. You do have a copy that was provided within your informer packet. Any questions in regards to the school violence drill evaluation report? I'm curious, Mr. Henning, how long does it take to run this drill?
37 minutes. On the front page.
Yeah, it doesn't take, that long, of course, to get people out of the building, but by the time you walk to the park and come back and debrief and take attendance and those kinds of things, usually we're under an hour, but that's not how long it takes us to evacuate, of course.
Oh, when I see 37 minutes, I'm sure there's a few stragglers beyond 37 minutes. It's still pretty good though.
Yeah, the kids are real good, so, teachers, a lot of planning and prep go into it, so.
Any other discussion in regards to the school violence drill evaluation report?
I'll make a motion to approve the violence drill evaluation report.
Is there a second to that motion?
I will second that.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor by Mr. Yurgis, seconded by Mr. Crave to approve School violence drill evaluation report. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Brings us to discussion item G, building and grounds meeting dates. Due to conflicts, we could not conduct the committee meeting that was scheduled, so we're looking to reschedule. So, what is a good date?
Let's
For
look
committee
at do
members?
it.
This week is better, but whatever your schedules allow.
I can do the 18th next week.
The 18th?
18th is good.
I would not be able to be there, I have a conference in Stevens Point. But I can have everything ready if you guys want to do it without me.
Well, and I'm still coaching basketball, so we have a away meeting that night.
Oh.
Second? December 2nd?
Works for me.
That's our last week of games. So Monday, Wednesday are not game nights for the following week.
Does the first work, or you guys something else on the first? Oh, okay. I thought there was a rhyme or reason.
No, there's.
Does the first work for you?
Yep.
Monday?
Yep.
Or Tuesday the 9th.
First works for me.
Okay. You wanna go 6? Does that work?
Sure.
So December 1st, 6 p.m.
Tuesday that work?
December 1st.
Is that in this room?
Yep. And all board members are certainly welcome to attend. All right, we'll move into discussion item H, the operating referendum. So we have a report, we've approved our survey. Additional questions regarding timeline, timeframe, or anything that's hanging out there for board members? When you speak on the freezing of the funding, what is that, do you know? What is that, what is the implications? What is that?
Yeah, so, like for example, our revenue limit is what freezes. So whatever our revenue limit is for that year that we fail the referendum, then it freezes at that for 3 years. So should the state provide any additional revenue limit authority, we would not be eligible for it for 3 years for failing a referendum. If we fail one, then pass one, then that sort of negates that, like we discussed earlier. But and I think that maybe not that particular item in itself, but I think the continued push for more regulation on operating referendums is something that you should consider very carefully, because every year, there's discussion about taking away referendums, there's discussion about limiting your options for referendums, there's discussions about penalties for referendums, all these things, and I just get really worried that, if this is something that we think we are going to need and gonna need going forward, that if we don't take advantage of that and be a little bit forward in our thinking, that we could find ourselves left out of that whole picture, just simply because of our timing of when we went or how long we asked for, etc.
So our revenue limit increase in the past, has that been steady or has it increased? What's the history of it?
Well, right, it's not a very scary penalty when it really, a lot of times doesn't go up, right? And ours doesn't go up very often. 3 out of the last 5 years it hasn't moved a bit, so it would depend on the particular year and the budget biennium and our student enrollment and all of our numbers, whether or not that would actually play out as a penalty for us. But I think it's a dangerous thing, because you certainly don't want to lose any opportunity to increase revenue just through the natural process if you can help it.
in the last, since you've been here, do you know what the largest increase we've ever gotten?
Susie actually just pulled all that data this week, because we're getting it ready to share with the public. Go ahead.
I want to, if we exclude like the $590,000, I want to say in the last 13 years, it was around like $260,000 was all the increase. Then we went and looked at.
Total overall.
Yeah, that's it, over those 12 or 13 years. Then we went and looked at how much did expenses increase, and it definitely increased more than $250,000. So yeah, we're pulling all of that data now.
Yeah, that ultimately is the picture of the Waterloo School District, right? And to be honest, many school districts across the state. In 13 years, we've seen roughly $250,000 in new revenue for the district. That is nowhere near what our costs have increased for inflation, and that certainly nowhere near comes close to covering compensation work that the board has tried to accomplish to get us up to where other people are. So you get in this continued trend of cutting just to keep what you had last year, or cutting just to offset inflation. So to answer your question, Bill, based on our past decade, it's not super scary, but again, it would be unfortunate to miss out on any revenue increases that come through the natural process.
Is there a correlation with that in the 13 years on the total enrollment? Are we relatively flat when you look at that curve, or?
No.
Oh no, definitely declining enrollment. Yeah.
By, I mean, significant decline?
I would say over 13 years, 80 or 90 students.
Yeah, this is more 100.
Maybe close to 100.
I can.
Which we have how many students in the district?
This year, 746.
I think around 730.
Okay.
So 10%.
Yeah.
And it's 10% annually, it's 10% over that period of time, right? If you compare 13 years ago to now, it's
Correct.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
How do we feel about the timeline of what's in front of us? I know we have a lot of work to do, but.
You mean in terms of being prepared? I mean, we're prepared. We can get it ready tomorrow. We just need to know what question you want to ask, right? Which I'm assuming you're going to let the survey dictate that largely. But I guess what I'm advocating for is really taking a hard look at that recurring referendum, because creating that fiscal cliff every 3 years and that uncertainty with staff and those costs that it takes to actually run the referendum, and then the time and energy that boards and administrators and stuff have to put into that. It just would be nice to set it and move forward and build on that. And I know sometimes people say, well, I'm not sure they want to give that authority for that long period of time. I mean, the boards do have options to under levy. Schools do it all the time. So, if there was a change in the state funding formula, the board could direct the administration to, back off of that $590,000 in a annual meeting. Like I said, districts do it all the time, so.
Have we touched on that in the questionnaire? That's how we did, right?
All right, any other discussion in regards to the referendum?
So a month ago, we moved to do a 3-year referendum. Should we be considering as a board voting tonight to either maintain that 3-year or go to a non-reoccurring? And I know, Susan, felt rather strongly that of the three are, and I'm not trying to submarine you, but I don't know if we gave it enough discussion.
I don't even know if we can vote or move to vote on that tonight.
Because it's a discussion item, not an action
Right,
item.
Yeah, and so technically we can't. And then number two, that's why we're gonna do the survey to find out,
Yeah.
right?
That would be
To
my
find out the
responsibility.
gauge of what the community feels,
Right.
and then come back and have that vote of how we're gonna move forward.
Yep, there was also a lot of sentiment about asking two questions, which, you know, that makes sense. You were sort of thinking about two different ideas, but knowing the limitations on questions, I would say that asking two questions doesn't make sense anymore, because if you fail in the spring, that doesn't give you an opportunity to go back in the fall then and retool and re-ask.
I'm glad we clarified that. Because I think that strategy is gonna be the one to use.
All right, any other discussion? All right, I will make a motion to move into a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1, parent C, for the consideration and discussion of the district administrator's performance and annual evaluation. Is there a second to that motion?
I would move to second that.
All right, that is a roll call vote.
Yes.
Gray, yes.
Schneider, yes.
Yes.
Golfin, yes.
Cummings, yes.
All right, that'll pass on a 7-0 vote. It's 7:36. We will take a 10-minute recess and let the cameras be tore down and reconvene. Thank you, everyone.